In this video, I will show how to install shiplap in a tiny house. For more tips on building a healthy tiny house, please check out my other videos. So I'm talking about putting up the interior wall finish. In a tiny house, you can't use drywall like on a typical house because of the movement. Driving down the road and things, it's going to cause cracks, and where you have the mud and the tape, it would be a mess pretty shortly. So you have to use a solid wood product. You could either use plywood, or in our case, we used these solid pine boards. So we decided to go with the shiplap look, which is very popular and just looks really cool. It's got the reveal here in between each board. It gives it the shiplap look. I say shiplap look because we actually used a tongue and groove with a shiplap style. The tongue and groove has, where they meet together, it has a part behind the tongue and in front of the tongue, which I decided to do the tongue and groove instead of the actual shiplap because of the rigidity. When you're going long spans and we're going 2 foot on center between studs, I wanted to have more stability between the boards, so it has something on the back side and the front side to keep it true and flat to the wall. So that's why we did that. I also wanted to do traditionally thinner board than typically used on this application. It's typically a 3/4 inch thick board, but with trying to stay light as we possibly can on the house, I went with a 1/2 inch board. This wasn't actually a stock item that I could find, so I called a local sawmill and we had them plane down their in-stock 3/4 boards to a 1/2 inch for me. So I actually saved a total of 500 pounds on the entire build, which is a pretty substantial amount. If we can save 500 here, 500 there, it adds up pretty quickly. So we thought that was an important thing to do. So if you're wanting to try to save the weight and get something custom milled down, look up your local sawmill. We used Kime Lumber here in Ohio, so you can call them and they can pretty much do whatever you want. So if you have a certain board you just want a little bit smaller, any dimension you want, they can do that for you. So that's what I recommend on that. So I want to show you how we got the boards ready to put on the wall. These are our pine boards. So pine is obviously a natural product. It's just pine. There's no additives, anything in the pine. It's just regular board. And on top of the pine, we are painting it. First we are priming it, and then we'll put a layer of paint on once it's up. So for the paint and primer, we are using a specific brand. It's called AFM, and it's Safe Coat. That's the name of the paint and primers, and actually all of the clear coats and the paints that we're using in this tiny house, because the no VOCs, no off-gassing, very natural product. So that's why we're using that. So this is the primer that we're using. And what we're doing first is I'm getting one quick coat on all the boards down here before we put them on the wall. One of the main reasons why is in this tongue and groove, as you can see with the shiplap application, you will see a reveal here, anywhere from 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch reveal between the boards. Due to the nature of wood, how it expands and contracts slightly with different humidities during the season, the boards could possibly move some up and down. And if we don't prime this tongue prior to putting it on the wall, potentially you could have a situation where the boards will shrink a little and you'll start to see some unfinished wood up in there where you didn't get the primer, because you can't get up in there once the boards are on. So we're really focused on getting this tongue coated good and down into this joint area, and then just getting a coat overall on it. So then we get it together, and once we get it up there, I'm going to spray the final paint coat on. Once it's all there, we're going to tape the walls and spray it all up. Alright, so now we're back in here, and I'm going to show you how I measure, cut, and nail the tongue and groove boards on to the wall. And here to help me is my little helper, Gracie. Do you want to do the thing? Yay! So she's helping me out today, and we're going to talk to you about putting the boards on the wall. So what we do here, you know, measure for length, cut. We got a lot of penetrations in the wall, a lot of electrical boxes, we got cables and things like that, so we got a lot of things to cut around. So it's definitely time consuming, but it looks really good when it's done. So one of the key points that I wanted to share with you guys is when you're coming up to like window openings or around doorways, anything that's going to get trim, casing, jam around it, you don't have to be right at the edge of the framing. You can be back, I mean, a ½ inch even away from things, just to keep in your mind. It doesn't have to be exactly flush anywhere. You can be back away a ½ inch because you're going to have like 3-inch trim going around here, 2-3-inch trim, maybe more. So it'll cover up all that. And then when you're going around any things like the walls here, anything that's going to get trimmed, you can stay away from it up to a ½ inch. I actually recommend at least a 1/4 inch gap between any studs, any window openings, anywhere, so that you can let the wood expand and contract naturally if it needs to. It'll all be covered up. What we're using to nail it on is just pneumatic nail guns. Right now we're using 1.5 inch brad nails, and what we do is we put them on here, and then we nail into the tongue like that on each stud, and then the next board will go on top and hide those nail holes. So when it's all done, you don't have really any nail holes that you need to mess with. It's all kind of hidden fastener at that point, because all the nails will be in the tongue. So that's how we're doing the tongue and groove shiplap style finish. If you had any questions for me, specifics that I didn't get into or maybe skipped over, please leave them in the comments. I would love to help you out however I can.